here we are on the 80s Glam Metal Cast with our thoughts and review of part 1 of Kisstory on A&E. I got my wife, Lori C., here with me. We watched it last night. What did you think?
I thought it was good. I mean, like I told you while we were watching it, I felt like a lot of the stuff we already knew. I mean, you're a hardcore Kiss fan, and in turn, I became a big Kiss fan. So
Yeah, and I agree with that. And Kiss are kind of in a unique situation where their story's been told a few different times, and it's not like they can change their story.
No.
Fans will call them out on that. But I think it's the telling of the story, which is pretty interesting. It's a little bit more humble, I think, than maybe other tellings. If you think back to like Extreme Close Up, Kiss maybe were a little cockier then,
Arrogant.
and I mean, really, there's also some history in the Exposed video, but a lot of that is to a level of ridiculousness. I mean, Kiss is in bed with all these girls telling their stories, and they're in the Kiss mansion. It's kind of fabricated. This seems more real when you get Gene and Paul just sitting on a couch reflecting on their history. I thought that was cool. You know what I mean?
And they learned something new about each other. That they were talking about their hairstyles back in the day and the way Gene had wore part of his up, and Paul had said, "Oh, I like the way yours looked." And I think that's the way it went. And then he says, "I almost put all
his hair up."
Yeah,
in there. Yeah.
And Gene said, "Oh, I never knew that. Yeah, I learned something new every day."
That's right. I never heard that either. So let's talk about another thing. Even though there were things that I had heard before, a lot of it, because like I said, it's the Kiss story. We know it. But there was a part that I knew that Kiss were in dire straits. Before Alive, but I never heard that like Neil Bogart was borrowing money from gangsters and loan sharks and stuff. And even when he got really rude
Probably
with
my
Gene,
relatives.
and he told Gene, I'm gonna break your legs if you don't give me, those tapes or whatever. Once again, never heard it told that way. I've heard about like Bill Aucoin having his credit cards maxed and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I never heard about the loan shark thing. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. What do you think about Ace and Peter's representation in this?
Well, I don't think it was as bad as it initially was, because I had heard that the first cut of this contains some really nasty things about Peter.
Right, how he didn't let him use Beth. I think so far, I mean, we're only through the first thing of this, and we're not even to the point where Peter leaves and Ace leaves.
Right.
I think they've been pretty kind to both of them at this point. I didn't see where they're ripping on him.
I think maybe because of the editing.
Yeah. That could be. But the thing that I don't really like is I don't like the fact that we're getting stills of like Peter and Ace to audio of them, and it's
like
so random.
Yeah.
Like it could be like one thing of Peter was 1974, another one was 1998, 2014. It's all over the board. There's got to be footage of the video of these guys talking somewhere. You would think, but who knows? And I know they did a lot of that for that VH1. It was called Beyond the Makeup. And it was another one of these, telling of the Kiss story. I don't know if VH1 owns that material still. Maybe that's why they couldn't get it. So when the thing starts off, and I apologize in advance, I've just got random notes that I've written. So we're not going in any kind of order or any kind of rhyme or reason. We're just throwing out random thoughts as I was writing them down as I watched Kisstory. Yeah, I'm a dork. I was taking notes during this thing.
Yes, he was.
So the thing starts off with some modern clips. You can see, what Kiss is up to today. And then, obviously we hear the backstory of Gene and Paul's life and all that. And I thought it was kind of cool. They went to Electric Ladyland Studios, and you could tell it was kind of like a fun for them, or it was like nostalgic, a blast from the past. You get to talk with Eddie Kramer a bit. Obviously he produced a lot of Kiss albums. He produced the first demos of Kiss. We get to hear audio of biographer Ken Sharp. We also touch base with Ezrin, which also was very cool. And another thing that I think is neat, and this is what you've got to look at. Like I said, once again, we could sit here all day and say, we already know this. They did a really good job of setting the story or setting the atmosphere. When we're talking about New York City in 1974, they're showing subways. People, and it's not Kiss. It's just, random citizens on a subway, or they're showing the city, they're showing a crowd. I think it helps tell the story
and the story needs to be told, because look at somebody like my father. He'd sit there and watch that. He really doesn't know anything about this, but he would sit there and watch that. So the whole story needs to be told, and
you have to think of it from a point of view that, once again, we've seen this, but what if you became a fan in the past 10 years? You haven't seen something like this, you know what I mean? So you've got to tell the story straight from the beginning and add as much as you can, so that somebody gets where this band came from and how they came about. One cool thing I thought, it was really nice to see nice quality of certain things. Paul Lynde Halloween special is one that comes to mind, because you look at it and you're like, okay, I've watched this probably on a bootleg, or I've watched it on YouTube in a little square on my iPad, but to see it on your big screen and it looks really good, that was really cool. And
Tom Snyder
once again,
that is the best. I remember the first time you ever had me watch that. Oh,
right. And you know what's cool about the Tom Snyder thing? They did a really good job with that. But what I want to say is that you've got to look at it this way. It's telling a story, right? The cool thing about the Tom Snyder thing is you're seeing what the problem is with Kiss right on live television. Ace is drunk. You know what I mean? He's funny, and we all laugh at that, but try to think about in your professional life, could you deal with that? Would you be, just think of yourself. Could you deal with somebody that's like that when you have something serious or important that needs to be done?
No, I probably would have acted the same as Paul and Gene acted.
So we can all say that, Gene's even come out in times and said, I was a little too stuffy or too serious on that. But you've got to try to look at their point of view is that, we've been through this kind of BS 24/7 with this guy, and it gets old. There's definitely some clips, I don't know if you picked up on this, but there was things that I've never seen before. And I think that as a fan, that's what we're all looking for. There was a clip of Peter. He was in an early band. I had never seen that before. I know there was some stuff from the Hotter Than Hell tour that I had never seen. A lot of that stuff where they were given the gold records on stage.
If you've never seen it, I've never seen it.
Maybe this is out there somewhere on YouTube, but I've never seen it. And there's definitely some Love Gun stuff where they're going up on the risers and the fireworks are all going up. A lot of those videos, the bootlegs that we used to watch back in the day, which are now on Kisstory, they pretty much honed in on a guy's face, more or less. You know what I mean? Or honed in on a guy. You didn't get a lot of cool back shots to see that whole stage. So whatever that came from, that was really cool. And the word on the street from the Kisstory and Bob Nash.
Hi, Bob.
Follow Bob on Twitter. He's saying that this stuff is not from the Kiss vault. So this is coming from other sources. And it makes sense because Kiss has already kind of given you, at least we believe, everything that they have. I mean, there's Kisstory and there's Extreme Close-Up and Kiss Confidential. We've seen all they've had to offer. So there's other stuff out there that that we haven't seen. Another point back to the maybe kind of exposing some of their weaknesses. This is something they wouldn't have done maybe back in the day when they did expose their Extreme Close-Up. But now we've all read Paul's book, and we know that he had a deformed ear, and he couldn't hear out of his ear, and he kept that hidden. And it's cool how that gets integrated into the Kiss story now.
Right.
Because if you think about it, this happens a couple times, and you don't think of this because you just think of Kiss of always being superstars. Paul's saying I was this insecure guy. I didn't have a bunch of girlfriends, and now all of these things I was singing about, just fantasizing about, are
actually coming true.
You know what I mean? And you don't think of that because you always think of Paul Stanley as this, the rock guy, the rock star, the stud, whatever you want to call him. And it is funny to think that these people came from serious, humble beginnings. And, and they're being humble about it when they're talking about it. Now, there's a big gripe. We were just listening to Eddie Trunk talk to the producer, he talked to the director of this. And one thing that he mentioned is that they don't even show the album cover for Rock and Roll Over. They don't show the album cover for Love Gun. They don't show Alive 2. I mean, do you think that we need to dwell on these albums? Or what do you think?
Not with the amount of time that they're working with.
Right.
I mean, it's a 2-night thing. If they were extending it maybe a week or so, well then hit all of that, but not in the amount of time.
And look at it this way. I at least think you should have showed the album covers. I mean, they are big albums. They're important albums. But what do they do for the story? So you got to think back. Once again, this isn't like I'm not watching live Wikipedia. You know what I mean? If I want to know what albums came out when, I can go on Wikipedia or wherever and see what their catalog is. But I think we're telling a story. We show the early albums because they were flops. That builds the story that this was make or break with Alive. Alive is a breakthrough album, huge. Destroyer, huge because of Beth and all that stuff. Kiss took it to a different direction. But once Kiss are big, how do these albums tell the story? They really don't. You know what I mean? They don't tell the rise to success for Kiss. So I kind of understand why they did it. And once again, but we do see a Dynasty. I know you're a big fan of Dynasty.
Oh, my favorite. Love it.
I'm a big fan of Dynasty.
I don't care what anybody says.
So let's say somebody says, well, geez, why did they show Dynasty but they didn't show Love Gun? Dynasty's telling the
Because
story.
Dynasty's better than
Nah, yeah, probably it is. And I agree with that. But think about it this way: Dynasty's telling the story from the point that Kiss kind of lost their balls, right?
Yeah.
And Kiss are a family-friendly thing now. They're not dangerous. If they didn't have that in there, talking about Dynasty, they can't tell how the band is about to fall apart. So when we leave this episode, we're kind of like it's kind of like a cliffhanger. Even though we know the ending, of their story for the most part. We know that things are in trouble, things are bad, things are about to blow up. People are going to leave the band, get kicked out, whatever, however you want to put it. So they kind of leave you hanging. Now here's another interesting thing: they have crammed in basically, let's just say from the band's life cycle, 72 to 1979 in 2 hours. Okay, we've got about 40 years or more to go, and we got to cram that into 2 hours. What do you expect to get out of tonight? Like, what would you expect that you're going to see?
So taking the makeup off and putting it back on, and how they got to where they are currently.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have to, for anybody who was upset that you didn't get to see the album cover of Love Gun, I don't think they're going to dwell on Animalized Asylum and Crazy Nights and all that stuff, even though,
which I have no problem with at all,
So
that.
I think they're going to blow through those. And once again, what I'm expecting is storytelling. The band hits rock bottom, 1981, 1982. Got to take the makeup off in 83. So I think you'll get some Lick It Up, because that was a big deal with taking the makeup off.
Good old Vinny.
And then I think you're going to zip through, a lot of those albums and just, say that, Kiss, remained a force in music at that point. And then you're right, you're going to get to Unplugged, and you're going to get to remasking, and how big that phenomenon was again.
It was huge.
And then then you're going to kind of, I don't know. Then we'll see where it goes. What I'm being told by my source, Bob Nash. So
hi, Bob.
Hey, Bob. Hey, hi, Mom.
Oh yeah.
About that swamp land in New Jersey.
That's the thing about Tom Snyder interview. We use those. We say lines from that all the time.
Yeah. Frankie, I see you. New Year's Eve. You're a good egg. You're a little bit hard boiled. So yeah, we say that one. We do a lot from that show. But anyways, I don't even know what the hell I was talking about.
I don't remember the Bob Nash.
Oh, so Bob Nash, is telling me that there's going to be some footage that's going to blow our minds. Yeah. If you had to give this thing a review out of a scale of 10, what would you give it?
I'd probably give it a 9.
Yeah.
I think a 9.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same, maybe like 8.5 or 9. And, one cool thing I just want to say about it that's nice is that, we could all say, yes, we know the story, we've heard the story, but it is kind of nice to see it again and shown in a different, point of view. It's just cool to think, as a Kiss fan, we're Kiss fans, right?
Yeah, you taught me a lot over the last 27 years.
But will the student become the master?
I doubt
I don't think so. But, it's just cool to remember what Kiss was like back in the 70s and, how huge they were. It really was a phenomenon. It's just great to relive all those memories. And I'm thinking, for me, and probably for you as well, the one tonight is going to be really nostalgic for us because we went to a lot of these concerts, and
hey, maybe we'll be in it.
Maybe we will.
Maybe me standing on the chair in Albany. Maybe
I don't know about that, but we might be in it from the convention. Because we were at the one in New York City, and a lot of that footage has been shared, and it's on the original Unplugged video. We'll see, guys, but yeah, we enjoyed it. For those of you who live in another country and you haven't been able to see it yet, hopefully there is a way that you will get to see it where you live. So we're closing out. There's only one way to close out. Wow,
that was weird. That was weird.